Well, hello everybody and welcome along to this webinar. David Cairns here with you. Today we're going to be talking about how to grow your business without spending any more in advertising or working longer hours, guaranteed. Now, before we get going, I just want to put my camera on and go through a couple of housekeeping things with you. So there we are. You can see that I am real. So firstly, if you could close down all your browser tabs, with the exception of this one, of course, that would be appreciated because it will greatly assist with the quality of the webinar for everyone. Now, as a business owner, your time is your rarest resource, and you don't often get time to settle down and focus intently on strategies to grow your business. But that's what we're here to do today. So make sure that those things are all turned off, and also your mobile phone is switched to the silent mode. Now, most importantly, you should have a piece of paper and a pen at the ready, because there will be lots of things that will come to mind throughout this webinar, and you'll be thinking, I must write that down. And if you write your notes by hand, you will have a much greater recall after the event. So take a moment now just to grab a piece of paper and a pen, and let's get underway. So ladies and gentlemen, I will turn my camera off, and that's just to make sure that there's no compromise of the bandwidth, and then we can get started. There we go. So who is this webinar for? Well, if you've tried business growth strategies before and they haven't worked, then don't worry, it's not your fault. Sometimes you can get advice that you follow that wasn't all that sound. And sometimes it was not appropriate for your business anyway. So it's no wonder it didn't work. If you've tried things before and it hasn't worked, then don't worry, it's not your fault. If you're concerned that you can't do it, then absolutely you can. If you've listened to anyone who has created a business success story for themselves, someone who started in their garage and built a business that provides them and their family with regular healthy income, they'll say things like, in the early days, we were far removed from what we're doing now, but we kept going. We learned, we got better, we employed more people, and we gained new skills, and so on and so forth. So if you're concerned that you can't implement growth strategies, then absolutely you can. If you'd love to take more sales from your competitors, and I do hear this a lot, frustrated business owners who are out there creating a living and seeing their competitors winning sales that perhaps they shouldn't be winning, maybe saying things they shouldn't say. If you'd love to take business away from your competitors, then you're going to learn some great strategies here today. If you are concerned that a lot of these programs have no substance, well, you can stop worrying about that as well. When you see what we've got in our programs, it's absolutely comprehensive. And also, when you see the leadership content coming out today, I'm sure you'll agree that there's some real breadth and depth to the content we have and what we do. And of course, if you're here to make a positive difference in your business, you want that baby of yours to grow up and be all that you've ever wanted it to be, then there are some great hints and tips and strategies on this webinar for you. So there's something in here for everybody today. So what are the goals of the webinar? Well, my goals are that we're here to show you that leadership is the key to business growth. So if you go to any business breakfast, meeting, or networking event, there'll be somebody talking about the next best profit growth strategy. But really, there's a pinnacle strategy for you as the business owner, and that's a leadership strategy. In order to grow your business, I want to show you that Quantum Leap Business Accelerator program will give you the small business leadership skills and the strategies you need to acquire in order to grow your SME business. Okay, so who am I? Well, a little bit about me, David. Many years ago, I was running my own business, and due to the economic shocks of the 80s, I had to close that business down. It was one of the hardest times of my career. But understanding why I had to close it down was a huge part of coming to terms with the actual business failure. I was young, I was new to running a business, and had not yet developed a network of trusted advisors with whom I could speak. However, the personal leadership that I gained from accepting the position I was in and then changing my thinking and attitude to one of growth and possibilities pointed me in the direction of becoming a student of personal and business leadership. So after a short time of running my own financial services business in Nelson, I joined the Bank of New Zealand, where I rose to Director of Private Banking, taking part in many executive leadership development programs, developing and leading people across New Zealand, and developing and refining the skills and knowledge of leadership. Time with National Australia Bank in London, developing strategies during the financial crisis, brought the need for strong leadership into clear focus, especially when you're working with different cultures. Later, I returned to Melbourne and managed a small education business, which also challenged my leadership skills. I closed one branch of the organisation and brought the remaining business back into profit and allowed that business to trade out of its precarious position. So I've been there. I know what small business owners go through. I've felt it and I've done something about it. I came to value leadership in all its forms by accident. Firstly, finding my own way in the darkness of business failure, but then in the light of organisational psychology, and that taught me the theory and the practical nature of leadership. I truly believe that you cannot have business growth without personal growth, and I'm sure you would all agree. My transition into consulting is my way of giving back to many small business owners in times of need, of growth, or of challenge. And when I review the work that I've completed with all my SME clients, there is one common theme that runs through all that work, and it is the theme of leadership. You can change your business by changing the way you think. Therefore, I strongly believe it is leadership that is the antidote for all your business problems. So firstly, you lead yourself from where you are now to where you want to be, to achieving your goal. So if you're on this webinar looking for solutions, a key part of that is going to be self-leadership, growing your skills and knowledge as a business leader. You lead your prospects. Our potential customers are actually pushing us out of the front end of the sales process. They are researching hard and making buying decisions well before they start talking to you. So you need to find a way to connect with them and lead them through their research towards the answer, and the answer that they need to work with you to complete their research and ultimately find the solution. You lead your clients when you're in conversations with them, from the problem that they're experiencing through to the solution and the removal of their pain. And you lead your team from today's results to tomorrow's results. So often we see business owners letting the team just go along in their own way. We've got to take a leadership stance and start a process of continuous improvement. So here are some of the businesses that I've worked with and some of the businesses that have benefited from my leadership approach. They come from across the entire spectrum of business opportunity. Of all the businesses I've worked with, it's the leadership in some shape or form that has been the antidote for their issues. It could be that your company logo might appear in that space in the very near future. So there are three key leadership themes that I want to talk about today. As business owners, you will relate to the idea of being a leader, the boss, having the buck stop with you. However, therefore, how well you lead yourselves, how well you lead others is dependent on how well you lead yourself. And the first of our three leadership keys is for growing your business addresses this. So all three keys will be discussed and they make up the content of this webinar. So the number one is it's business, not busyness. And there's a few concepts we'll talk about in there. Leadership is the number one business growth skill. We'll cover that next. And lastly, there are 6 business areas to focus on if you want to grow your business. So let's have a look at it's business, not busyness. Now, if you've got questions, ladies and gentlemen, just pop them in the chat box. I won't get a chance to answer them until the end of today's session, if that's okay. So moving right along, making the best use of your time, and you are a busy business owner and time is your most valuable and rarest resource. So when it comes to growing your business, you have to make sure that your time focus is the best it can be. It's business, not busyness, that a business owner should focus on. If you think of the Pareto principle, or maybe you know it as the 80-20 rule, and there's a range of ways you can apply that in business. But in reality, 20% of your input is what produces 80% of your results. Now that's frightening, because the opposite is that 80% of your effort is only producing 20% of your results. And it's that big blue area on the left where the opportunity is to find more time to grow your business. And that's the key opportunity. Now, that takes some discipline, ladies and gentlemen. It's about letting go of things that are inefficient, that's ineffective, and not working for you. Now, some of these things you need to let go of might be the favorite tasks that you have inside the business. But to reduce the busyness, they require you to take a leadership stance and review them. Now, this applies equally to your team members as well. But to be a little brutal about it, I've had people coming through my Business Accelerator program who said they needed to focus on all manner of things around business development, on sales, on marketing, to be able to gain better results. But mostly it's been focusing on business, not on the busyness. So the first principle is to identify for yourself and for others in your business, what is the 20% of effort leading to the 80% of the result? Where's the opportunity to stop doing things, to change doing things, reduce doing things in the big blue circle on the left, to be able to get the results that really matter? Now, the second busyness principle is about arresting the boom-bust cycle. It's an interesting thing, the boom-bust cycle, and it's very important when it comes to leading your business. And it is best to be avoided. Now, look at the timeline that I've drawn out here. It represents our business timeline here in New Zealand. So if you're tuning in from the Northern Hemisphere, I'd say the boom-bust cycle is similar, but it'll be occurring perhaps at different months, particularly based around the holiday season. So the year kicks off for us, and we have a great start fulfilling orders and gaining new clients. This is the green line. Then we get busy working on the things that we already have in the pipeline, and we move our focus towards fulfillment, perhaps leaving business development a little bit behind. Then we head off into the year in this continuous cycle of boom and bust, busy and quiet. However, we often finish the year with a nice little kick on before Christmas, just before it all falls off the cliff. Now, we see this happening again and again, year after year, in every business, business after business. Now, the red line. Straight after the holidays, we pick up business development for a short period of time. We get new clients and new sales. We build up our excitement as we get busier, and we divert our attention towards fulfillment. Then when the business slows, we pick up our business development again. And so up and down, up and down, up and down throughout the year. Our business development activities are hardly constant. It's the opportunity to discover how we plan to fill in these peaks and to level that curve out, because the opportunity for increasing revenue is really in here. It's in these dips, these times of low activity that you experience. They are the times where you probably are really working hard and you've got very little time. Your resources and ability to deliver are probably stretched to breaking point. So do you want these peaks growing even higher? Or do you really want these troughs coming up so that your activity in both sales and fulfillment looks something a little bit more like this dotted line? Maybe it would be a lot more profitable and probably a lot easier on your business and less stressful on you to handle throughout the year. So that's the idea of being able to take a leadership stance and developing a plan to raise those troughs and to smooth out the effort. Obviously, when you do that, ladies and gentlemen, you raise the troughs and the peaks may go up as well. But if you're in a situation where you've lifted those troughs, then when it comes to the decision of putting on an extra pair of hands, you'll be more comfortable and confident to be able to do so, because you're not so worried about business dropping off again in a couple of months. And that's the biggest concern for business owners. Often they say, yes, I could use another pair of hands right now, but what about in 3 to 4 months' time when things go quiet? I don't want to have to put them off again. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the main dilemma for small business owners about hiring staff. I do have a small poll here that I'll put out for you. So there we go. I'll launch a poll around business and busyness. If you could just complete that, that would be fantastic. Alrighty, so those 3 leadership keys, let's look at the 3 of them again. It's business, not busyness. I've discovered that the #1 business growth skill is leadership. And of course, we want to look at the 6 focus areas of growing your business. So here's you in your business. I do apologize for the gender-specific icon, ladies. As the business owner, you tend to be dealing with the best customers, and the key customers tend to want to deal with the business owner. If you wanted to work on your business, then maybe try a CEO type role to develop your business without the continual interruptions or conversations from staff and customers getting in the way. Those interruptions keep you in the doing mode and keep you away from the strategic development of the business. It's a case of retraining your customers. Your team also needs a lot from you. They ask questions, they need help, and sometimes they haven't gained the business or the leadership skills to be able to make decisions for themselves when something out of the ordinary happens. Or they may not be working to a plan or business goal, and therefore they've got to be closely supervised and monitored in order to get the production that you want. Of course, you also look after the business as well, and all the things that happen within that business. But what I encourage people to do is to focus on leadership so that the business owner works with the team and has the business systems in place and delegates effort so that the team works with the customers. Now, what we find is the large and important clients are always wanting to talk to the business owners, but we can complete a range of things to retrain those major customers and move their point of contact in the business so they are able to deal with our key customer service person, who of course is in a far better position to answer their questions. They have their fingers on the information required and are usually across all the jobs. To retrain people not to be dependent on the business owner can take a while. It can be up to 6 months, but the freedom that comes from that can be quite dramatic. Of course, your good paying customers look after a good business, and ultimately the business looks after you, the business owner. And that's the solution. It is to focus on leadership. Now, I'm making a big deal about that because so many business owners are encouraged to think about lead generation and the marketing side of things as the first problem to solve. But when it comes to growing your business, and sometimes it's counterintuitive to think, well, sales are down, now I've got to focus on leadership. Why aren't we focusing on lead generation? Well, we're going to do that, of course, but the old analogy that if you've got a bucket that's full of holes and you keep trying to fill it up with water, you're never really going to fill it. It just leaks out throughout the process. And it's the same with business. So the way to plug up those holes in business is the leadership approach and making sure that you've got your whole team working well, delegating work to them with good systems, with a strong plan, and they know how to look after your key customers, and your key customers are providing the profit for running a really good business, and ultimately that business is looking out for you. That's a very important process, and you can see that the graph on the right looks more in harmony in a circle than the graph on the left, where it looks like someone's going to be pulled apart. And that's often how business owners feel. Now, I know business owners are very stoic and they don't like to talk about stress, but time stress is one thing that affects all business owners. Yet with a team on board, you're in the position to be able to reduce that time stress by having others do the work and take on some of those responsibilities. So how well you do that comes completely and utterly down to how good you are as a leader. And so that's why leadership is the #1 business growth strategy. So leadership as the #1 growth strategy even looks at what is the role that you're doing and being able to look at the things that you do. So here's a comment from Samantha. The first thing David made me do was to write my own job description. What are the things you should be doing, not the things that you are doing? It provides clarity and reduces time stress and offers up the benefits of delegation. So what I want you to do is to assume the role of the CEO. Delegate. Yes, it's hard. But if you're delegating without clear instruction, if you're delegating without systems and procedures to follow, then it will be hard. But you develop those things as you go. Then some of your better employees will be able to help you because they already know what to do. A team works best on systems. It is short-term pain for long-term gain with many of these changes. And the same goes for your CEO, your second in charge. They can assume a GM or general manager type role. Now, often people say to me, this is a small business. We don't have CEOs or general managers. What are you talking about? Well, I agree. In small businesses, everyone tends to roll up their sleeves and get on with the action and help out. But someone has to direct the troops. And the way you think about that is the role of a CEO. You may still have day-to-day activities that you do, but you've got to be working in that CEO style role. A recent survey of successful entrepreneurial business owners showed that most of them spent 65 to 75% of their time leading the business, developing systems and strategies, and only 25 to 35% was actually spent on the tools. Now that's a really good question to ask yourself. How much time do you spend on the tools? So by comparison, most small businesses operate on the reverse, with more time on the tools and leaving the strategy for after business hours thinking, when often fatigue dulls the senses. So I encourage you to assume that seat of CEO and also your go-to person or second in charge to assume a general manager or general manager type role. So if you haven't got them in that sort of role or title already, but if there's someone you depend on, I think it would be a good idea to have a conversation about some of the management duties that you can pass off to them, so they are able to assist you in running the business more efficiently. I'll just finish off this poll. Let me see here. Here we go. I'll end the poll. Cool. 100% of people are looking to do the annual development. So that's fantastic. That's a good opportunity. Okay, so it's business, not busyness. The first of the 3 leadership keys. We've just discussed leadership is the #1 growth skill. And number 3 is, of course, the focus on the 6 areas of business growth. So what should you do? Oh, if you have any comments, please put them in the chat box and I will try and get to them if I can before the end of our time. There's a lot of opportunity for organizations, programs, and systems to take your hard-earned cash, everyone with a different story telling you what you should do. So what are you going to do? Well, with all these, we're going to put a knife through them and focus on what matters most. When you look at what's being mentioned here, most of it is in the lead generation area of business. And that's a problem because most people only focus on lead generation for business growth. From a cost perspective, it may be the most expensive business growth strategy you have. Now, advertising is expensive, but if you work on advertising systematically, you can develop adverts that work and provide a very good return on investment. Then, once you have a good ROI, you can outmarket your competition because you can outspend them. But if you're not getting a good return on investment from a well-tested, well-measured and systemized approach to your advertisements, whether it's online or offline, your advertising becomes expensive and you can't outspend your competitors. Okay, so what are the 6 areas of focus? We talked about lead generation, and the number 1 is more leads. But what's really, really important is of the type that you want. How do we become better at converting leads into customers? And for many businesses, I would start here with number 2. Businesses already have leads coming in. We just have to convert them to customers. Now, getting better conversion rate is really profitable business because that increases your return on your advertising dollar. Advertising dollar creates the inquiries for you to talk to, but if you're not converting these into sales, you're not getting the greatest return on your advertising dollar. Sell more to each customer. And this is a lot more sophisticated than do you want fries with that? Do you want fries with that was a revolution for the fast food industry in its day, but there are ways to be able to make sure that customers buy more each time they interact with you. And one of them in a business-to-business scenario is what we call the key account management. Key account management can help you to develop a very strong and sticky relationship with those key customers. They'll be expanders, and you can work to get up to 100% of their purchase or their purchase wallet. So rather than thinking on a people level, start to think on a customer level. What other business do they have? When you review or gain a new customer, you may only be getting up to 30% of their wallet. But over 6 months, you can gradually increase that to 100% of their wallet. It's very profitable revenue increase without spending any more time, effort, or money on gaining new customers. So it's there already. There's really gold in your existing database. Now, one of the main increase factors is repeat business. And often the strategies around selling more to each customer and increase repeat business are overlapping. But getting people to come back more often and buy more each time they come back really is the holy grail. Number 5 is fatten your margins. So if you find it difficult to fatten your margin because a number of customers seem price sensitive, you'll also find there will be a number of customers where you can make very handsome movements in these areas. So think back to the 80-20 rule. Go in for the low-hanging fruit. Make the improvements where you can so that the 20% of your time is going to yield the 80% of the results. And lastly, we have team productivity, and we'll talk a little bit more about that soon. So let's look at Bill's local business and see how we can apply these principles to Bill's strategy. We'll break a strategy down into a mathematical formula. Now, people say it all adds up, but forget addition. What we want is leverage and multiplication. Now, the beautiful thing is, as we go through this step by step, you should be thinking, hey, I can do that. Yep, I can do that. Yep, I can do that as well. So that's the sort of process that we think about as we go through. So here's Bill's local business. You can think about this on a weekly or monthly basis, probably weekly for the dollar figures that we have. Actually, think about this as being the average across the course of a year. But what I find when I talk to business owners is that they relate to these numbers in a shorter time frame. They know their numbers on a weekly or a monthly basis. So think about it like that. All right, here we go. So Bill has 40 leads coming in each week. He has a sales conversion of 40%. So when you multiply those two together, that gives him new customers of 16. The average spend is $600. And 1 person in 10 comes back to buy again. So the repeat business is 10%. So we multiply the new customers by average spend, by repeat business, and that will give us a revenue of $10,560. Now, we can't eat revenue or spend revenue or pay the mortgage with revenue. We do that with profit. And to convert to profit, we multiply by our profit margin. So when we multiply that by our profit margin of 50%, that leaves us with 5,280. So what if we took a systematic step-by-step approach and worked with Bill to increase each of these multiplication areas by, say, 20%. Now, some of these areas may increase by 20% more quickly, and some may take some more time and work. But let's say we give Bill to the end of the year to get a 20% increase in all of these areas. What would it look like? So we've increased the leads to 48. Our sales conversion has also come up to 48%. And as before, we multiply those two together to get 23 customers. Our average spend has also increased and our repeat business has increased. And once again, we multiply those to get our revenue figure of 18,574. I'm sure you've already worked out that if we multiply that by a margin of 60, we get a profit of about 11,144. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is an increase of 211% on the strategy before. Now, try and do that by going out with the latest, greatest, and flashiest lead generation strategy. You may be able to increase your leads, but will your profit go up if you're not working on these other areas throughout the business system? Many of these strategy areas require low cost or no cost input to improve by 20%. In conversion, maybe a little bit of sales training or sales coaching, and I can help you with that. This can yield improvements, and it's zero outlay to do it. So if you have a range of strategies to work from, our Business Accelerator program has well over 100 strategies listed out and documented across these 5 key areas. I talked about conversion as being the place to start, and I'm going to circle it here. Now, conversion is the unsung hero, and there's a lot of opportunity to increase these ones that I've just put the brackets around because they tend to be the poor cousins. Now, once again, I'm not trying to turn you off lead generation, but I'm wanting to make sure that in your business growth efforts, you have an equal approach of effort towards these other areas. They can make your business grow. So here's what Nicole said. Being in business for over 30 years, you can get stuck in your ways. Now, stuck in your ways recognizes 2 things. It recognizes both leadership and the areas of business focus. Now, I think it's incredibly important because sometimes people can make the business growth stuff a little bit too theoretical or a little bit too high and mighty. But the personal leadership of being open-minded and not stuck in your ways is a must for business growth. I'm always impressing upon my clients the importance of down-to-earth, low-cost, no-cost strategies that you work on bit by bit and get a really good improvement in your business over 3, 6, or 9-month period. So the 6 areas of business focus, let's put them up again. More leads, but most importantly, of the type that you want. Better conversion of those leads into customers. Sell more to each customer and increase the repeat purchase to those customers. Lastly, number 5, fatten your margin. And number 6, let's talk now about increased team productivity. Now, it is important to think that, it's important not to think of team in the traditional sense. As in small business, your team is your partner, your bookkeeper, your virtual workers, installers, contract salespeople, contractors, etc. Don't get hung up on what we used to know as a team. So your team needs to know the plan. And we talked very early in the boom-bust cycle about the importance of having a plan. One of the reasons is to be able to strategize the distribution of effort and how we're going to defeat the boom-bust cycle. Your team needs to know the plan, and it's an incredibly important part of employee and team engagement. We need to have clear and simple roles and KPIs, and that goes for you, the owner, as well. The amount of times new people join a business with some form of letter of engagement, but not a really clear role description describing the outcomes required. There's a list of tasks, but without an endpoint. Each role should have KPIs or measures that you can put in place for weekly productivity. It's all about keeping an eye on what really matters the most. Think back to the 80-20 rule. Let's keep an eye on the 20% of things that give us the most 80% of results. Now imagine if everyone in your business was doing that right now. Where would you be in 3 or 4 months' time? And lastly, of course, weekly meetings. Sometimes people look at me like they've just eaten a red hot chili pepper when I ask them to implement weekly team meetings in their business. But now, many of them would not be without them. They are really important strategies to put in place in your business to increase team productivity. And you'll want to do that because if you're going to be free yourself to work on the business and grow it, you absolutely have to have that team working productively and harmoniously in your business. So here's what Colette had to say about the figures multiplying up and growing for very little dollars. Melissa talked about time, doing things or delegating them. And again, Sam talking about taking back control of my business and my life and focusing on the key things such as revenue and margin. So the three leadership keys. You can't grow your business if you're the only one pulling on the rope. It's just not going to work for you. And you'll give yourself a heart attack trying to do so. So let's look at the 3 keys drivers to business success. It's not business, it's busyness. If you can break through that barrier, then that will be a relief valve. Really, really important is that leadership is the #1 business growth skill. And then focus on the 6 areas of lead generation. The 6 areas of growth. Lead generation, your conversion of leads, getting those customers to spend more, getting them to come back and more often, fattening your margins, and working on team productivity and systems to improve how profitably you can deliver. If you do all of those things, a simple 20% across those 5 areas of business can yield up to 211% increase. And if you add the multiplier of increased productivity to that, it can go even higher. So can you see yourself can you see this helping you in your business? And I'll launch my poll number 2. So there we go. I've launched the poll. I'll leave that up for a moment. So can you see this helping you in your business? If you can, then go through the poll and think about and click the poll. If you could move from busyness to business right now, would you see improvements? You may be thinking that you could never do that. Well, plenty of business owners have said that in the past, and we've been able to help them to make the change. Just imagine if you could move from the busyness of the day-to-day without having time to scratch your head and move to the point where you could be sitting in the CEO's role, strategizing and steering the ship towards the future. Why would you not take that opportunity? If you could lead your business and you were able to stay focused on the 6 areas of business growth that matter most, why wouldn't you do that? So what would make a big difference in your business? Now, you may be feeling excited, or are you feeling overwhelmed? There was a fair bit of really red-hot information that came through there in a relatively quick period of time. And I hope you're able to take notes. So sometimes you can feel that it's a bit overwhelming, and sometimes it's like drinking from a fire hose when you get all this information. So let me just pause and have a quick look at the poll. Okay. So again, we have 80% in the leadership area and 10 in business and 10 in the growth principles. Excellent. So that is a great outcome. So by taking small steps, step-by-step actions on a weekly basis helps to provide clarity for implementation. So what I would like to do now is to take some time to show you how the Quantum Leap Business Accelerator program can help you with your business leadership skills, step by step. So if you'd like to see how to gain the necessary skills, I'd like you to put a yes in the chat box for me. That is, if you would like to see how to gain these skills, if you could put a yes in the chat box. Okay, here they come. Thanks for that. Okay, if you could get the last of the yeses in the chat box, if you would like to see the solution and be able to build your business leadership in a step-by-step way. Okay, that's fantastic. All right. Okay, thanks very much for that, ladies and gentlemen. So the Quantum Leap Business Accelerator program is exactly that. It's a program to accelerate your business growth. We move through the program and look at an area of your business to improve each week over 12 weeks. You choose and you make one simple improvement in that area weekly. Now, because you have all the material and the processes from the course, you can come back and keep making small improvements to that strategy area again and again. But the key is to start to learn and understand a step-by-step approach to continuous improvement in business, getting the team on board with the process of making those little improvement changes. The key is that everybody in the business is focused on the small changes that add up to the massive gains. So it is the multiplier effect that we saw in Bill's example earlier. Now, do you get 20% improvement in one go? Maybe not, but you can get 1% in 20 things or 2% in 10. It all adds up and multiplies up using the business accelerator strategies. So let your creativity run with this and think about where you could end up if you took a manageable, continuous improvement approach to your business. What can you do? What can you delegate and give your team to do? And prove that you don't have to be the only one pulling on the rope when it comes to your business. So there are 12 business modules, ladies and gentlemen, and they're all online. They are interactive and you can connect with others and with me, your facilitator. There's a 210-page strategy guide that takes each of the areas on the webinar and breaks them down into 10 sub-strategies in each of the areas we discuss. And there are sessions we haven't touched on in this webinar, like cash flow and systems. Plus, there's another 19 tools and templates that you can print off. They are things that add more value to an area of learning, or that will give you a template that you can just lift up and use in your business. You can tailor them and contextualize them for your own business. But we've done all the hard work, so you don't have to, and you save valuable time. So there are 3 phases to delivery. The 12 business growth modules over 12 weeks. Session 1 is an action plan, and we talked about the importance of planning at the beginning of this webinar. So we set in place an action plan from day 1. Now, what I find with action plans is that you learn more as you go along, and you continue to refine and improve the action plan. As long as you're doing this, things to improve your business within those 6 key areas we talked about. I don't think you should wait to have the absolute perfect strategy. If you don't get started, nothing will get done. So focus on the 6 important areas and take action right now and move forward. Secondly, we talk about positioning. Where do you want to be positioned in your marketplace so that you stand out from the crowd, so that you are appealing to your ideal customer? If you're going to do new marketing, ladies and gentlemen, you may as well appeal to your ideal customer. What is your ideal target market, and how are you going to represent yourself and position yourself in the mind of that target audience so you become the first choice? We look at team, because these are the people who are going to help you to make the change in your business. Now, if you haven't got team members, don't think, well, this isn't for me, because what will happen is when you start to grow, you will need to put someone on, and then, of course, you have got a team of 1. And the team works well on processes and systems that need to be put in place. Otherwise, you'll end up down the track with a team of 6 without those systems and processes. And if it's not done right, you'll be frustrated, wasting energy and time and money to actually put those in place. In phase 2, we talk about the 6 areas of multiplication. We talk about lead generation. Yes, we do focus on that. Conversion. How do we convert customers into paying? How do we convert leads into paying customers? We talk about consultative selling. So we take the conversion strategy one step further and teach you the fine art of consultative selling. It teaches you how to deeply and understand the exact need of that individual customer, and then to fulfill that need. You'll be head and shoulders above your competition. You are without competitors when you do this consultative selling very well. We also look at personalities, so how you can deal with different personalities. Average dollar spend. How do we increase the spend of our customers and repeat business? We ought to discuss, how do you set yourself apart in your market? Then in phase 3, it's about consolidating your business. It's about margins and systems. And we'll also do some work on cash flow as well within this business systems. Margin, systems, and cash flow. So here's what Craig had to say. Wealth Health is an example of how Quantum Leap Business Accelerator Program can assist you in business. Craig went from a 1-man business to employing up to 7 people within 1 year, and he had the turnover to support that expansion. This demonstrates that if you do your bit and implement strategies, the Business Accelerator Program does work for you. So right now, you may be thinking, I've tried a business growth strategy before and it didn't work. Well, sometimes that's because the business growth strategy may not have been the right one. They could have been heavily geared towards advertising strategies. And with advertising, ladies and gentlemen, unless you're testing and measuring your approach, they may not provide you with the results you want. If you're not taking the type of approach, it won't work. We strongly advise against going and spending $5,000 on advertising just because you need the business. Spend $50 on test adverts, which you can do online, see how it works. And if it doesn't work, change it. Spend another $50 until you gain the results you want. Sometimes business strategies don't work because of the way they're implemented without the personal guidance of an expert to help you. And sometimes the business growth strategies don't work because they are outside of the 6 most important focus areas. There's no real leverage in them, and there are a lot of people telling you what you should do. I've heard people say, I can't spend any more on advertising. Well, I think I've done that one to death. But you can achieve from this program, and in particular from the positioning and the lead generation modules within the program, to get more bang for your advertising buck. I've heard people say that my business is different, and every business owner says that, and they are different. I hope so. You need to be unique in the marketplace and be clear about your point of differentiation. But I can tell you what is the same. And that is, you need leads. You need to convert those into paying customers. You need to maximize what they spend. You need them to come back and to spend again and again. You need to do all that with a good profit margin, and you need your team behind you in business. And the strategies we talk about are at that level that you can refine and contextualize and fit into your own business. I've heard people say, I'm struggling with time right now. Well, yes, absolutely you are, because 80% of your time is only giving you 20% of the result. And that's what's killing you. I can't keep up with the work I've got right now. Well, that's great, but you work on making that work more profitable for you. And once you've got an increase in the profit factor, you can put another pair of hands on to help you make the living you want and to reduce your time stress in business. But you have to make sure you're not the only one pulling on the rope. I've also heard that my customers are price focused. Well, I can tell you that they're not. There are some who are price focused and you'll never change them. And my advice is to go out there and attract more of the ideal customers you want so you can improve your average spend and the repeat business strategies that we talked about. So here's what's included. So the Quantum Leap Business Accelerator Program, 12 small business webinars following a number of patterns. Action plan, positioning, lead generation, conversion, consultative selling, setting yourself apart, average customer spend, repeat business, margins, cash flow, and systems. Well, there's a lot there. Remember, take one strategy in each of these areas each week and make an improvement in your business. This idea of a continuous step-by-step approach to improving your business, and you can run through those 12 areas as often as you want. You can have our 90-day improvement plan running over and over again many times because you've got all the materials, you've had all the experience, and you have at least one successful run through with me at the helm guiding you through. So the possibilities are endless. So here's what you'll receive in the Quantum Accelerator Business Accelerator Program pack. 12 business growth webinars that are interactive and are easily valued at $5,000. A 210-page strategy guide that's online and available to you immediately with over 100 strategies documented that are low cost, no cost strategies and jam-packed with lots and lots of information. And people are using it long after the course is finished. So that's 12 webinars at $5,000 and $2,000 for the 210-page strategy guide. Now, I've had business owners tell me that it's worth more than that given the strategies and the ability to use it over and over again. So that's the webinars and the 210-page strategy guide. And you will also receive the 19 tools and templates and done-for-you solutions. So there's extra learning in these templates and discussion documents. You can lift these and implement them into your business, saving you time and speeding up implementation. So here's the full package. 12 online interactive webinars valued at $5,000. 210-page strategy guide, easily worth $2,000. There's 100+ strategies in that booklet. 19 extra tools and templates that you can lift up and put straight into your business. There's phone, email, and access to me during the duration of the program, and that's easily worth another $3,000. You can text, call, or email me on any of these details. If I'm not immediately available, I will get in contact with you as soon as I can. Plus, you can bring your partner, a fellow director, or your second in charge for free. So you don't have to be the only person pulling on the rope of change. They can get access to the material and attend all the workshops. They can be with you on conference calls and when you're talking about strategies. And conservatively, that has to be worth around $8,000. So that's a total of $19,000 of value easily. But we're not going to charge you that today. We're going to bring that down to a very manageable $1,695 plus GST for those of you on this webinar here today. So we are starting soon, and we are going to have a small group of people together on these leadership sessions. We keep them small so there's enough time for Q&A and discussions. It's a chance to get to meet other switched-on business owners who equally want to grow their business. So it is starting soon, so be in so don't miss out. It starts on Tuesday, the 26th of May at 1:30 New Zealand Standard Time. Then it will run every Tuesday at 1:30 or at the times above for 11 more Tuesdays after that. Session 1 is on the 26th of May, and the last session is on Tuesday, the 11th of August. 11th of August. So there's a PayPal link in the chat, so I'm just going to put that up for you now. Let me just have a look here. Yep. So that should be in the chat now. Okay, so just click on the PayPal link and you will receive that special discount. From there, I will give you access to the online learning system, and I'll be able to send you your welcome letter later today. Your PayPal receipt will also come to you just a little bit later. So, in reality, guys, you've got two choices. You can take the green pill and continue the way you are. And don't get me wrong, I have the greatest respect for business owners who, under their own steam, have forged their niche and carved out a business for themselves. You can keep going as you are, or the other choice is to take the red pill. And you can say, hey, I want to step up my business at least one notch, maybe two. There will be people in your industry who are not going to survive this downturn. There will be opportunity in a less crowded marketplace when demand starts to come back again. There will be customers who can't get what they need. So you could take the red pill, come and join us. You can get 12 focus sessions on growing and improving your business with a system and a methodology that you can repeat again and again in your business on a continuous improvement process for as long as you want. Now, on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, I am offering a 30-day 100% satisfaction guarantee because I back myself if you will too. So here's what I mean by that. From the program start date, attend the webinars, use the workbook and the templates, evidence that you've implemented the strategies, and if my program and the materials are not as good as I say they are, then I'll give you back your money 30 days after the completion of the course. If you do the work, I will back myself if you do too. But ladies and gentlemen, the real question is it worth putting 60 to 90 minutes aside each week to learn strategies that can boost your bottom line profit and reduce your time stress in business? So why don't you come along, roll up your sleeves and implement 1 or 2 strategies each week? I think it's a bit of a no-brainer in terms of business development. So here's what you'll receive, the complete package. The 12 business growth strategies on webinars, the 210-page strategy guide, including over 100 documented strategies, 19 extra tools and templates that you can pick up and put straight into your business. Full access to me throughout the program when you need to check on something or ask some advisory implementation. Plus, you can bring your partner or your second in charge, your fellow director. Our system has been set up that they can also log on using your credentials. So it's very easy. That's a full value of over $19,000, and we're making it available today for only $16.95 plus GST. And that is if you're on this webinar. It is a webinar special. So the time to move is right now. Much of the year has already gone, and we've only got these months to be able to improve and get ready for our growth. The program is comprehensive and includes the 12 webinars, the 210-page strategy, 19 tools and templates, full access to me to help you with implementation advice or checking on some things. Plus, you can bring your partner. That's a full value of $19,000, and we're making it available to you at $16.95 plus GST. That's our webinar special. You can have all these things at a rock bottom price. So the next steps, ladies and gentlemen, the program starts on the 26th of May. The PayPal link is in the chat, so you can click on that right now so you don't miss out. As soon as your order comes through, I will get your welcome letter off to you, and I'll get your log on sent to you so you can access the online materials and learning. So let's get going and let's make this happen, ladies and gentlemen. Remember to change your business by changing your thinking. It's a leadership thing. It's been great and delightful to present to you today. Just don't miss out on this opportunity to set improvements in place in your business, to build a stronger business with a stronger, more resilient business so that you can capitalize when the sun shines again. Ladies and gentlemen, I look forward to working with you on the program. Thank you very much, everyone. I will end the webinar now.